Christina, the Crafty Cataloger. I know that I should have been back here for a video at the end of June, first part of July. I knew that probably wouldn't happen the weekend that I really wanted it to happen because the first weekend of July was our oldest son's wedding. But I really thought I would get to it within the next week or so, and well, here we are almost to the end of September, and you can see that I didn't. And I also thought I would get to it at the end of August when I should have, and I didn't. I thought about waiting until the end of October, which would be the next 2-month interval. But I feel like if I put it off too much longer, I'm probably never going to do it. And so I thought I should just hop in, do something, and go from there. It's bound to be a bit of a hot mess because I don't have notes today. Normally I have notes typed out. And I actually started typing out notes a couple weeks ago, and yet again it just kept getting moved back and back and back in my planner because I just didn't get to the actual filming process. So today I am just pulling out my stuff and I'm just going to show you whatever, and hopefully it's not too crazy or difficult to follow. And hopefully I can also get it back on track and come back again at the end of October and then get back into the every 2-month schedule that I had said that I wanted to do. So I'm glad that you could join me today. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you see something that inspires you and makes you want to hang around and chat about crafts. If you are a returning friend, I thank you so much for coming back and for sticking with me. And I hope that everyone is well. So let's talk about what I've been working on and what I'm currently working on and all that good stuff in the area of cross stitch. I literally just have a pile over here, and I'm just gonna grab stuff off the pile and show it to you. So nothing's in any order. I am not going to share any stats this time in terms of what challenges each piece might have been used for or anything like that, because again, that would take time to put together, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way ever, but sometimes I feel like my time is never my own, and lately it's been really bad. Even when I think I'm going to have a day to do what I want to do, everybody comes at me with things that they need done, or they need me to make these phone calls, or they need me to do this certain thing, and by the time all is said and done, I don't have any time left to do what I want to do, or if I do have time, I don't have the energy. So I'm just going to show you what I've been working on, and we're not going to worry about numbers this time. I do have a couple of finishes, so I'll start with those. The first one is Miss Bingley's Library. I finished this one, I believe, in August, and I really like it. I think I'm probably going to fully finish it into a flat fold type of finish and probably just prop it up on a bookshelf somewhere, because I really don't know what else I would do with it. I really only did it because, you know, it has libraries in it. So I am pleased with how it turned out though. And because I know that I am notoriously bad for sharing details such as designer and what kind of fabric I used and what kind of flosses I used, etc. Do note that in the description box below there is a link to a Google Doc that has all of that information in it. So if you are curious, because this is one piece where I did not use all the called for, I substituted a lot of things that I had in my own stash. So if you're interested in what colors I used, all of that information is in the Google Docs. Google Doc that is linked below. And I'm going to try not to be too distracted, but my dear friend are out in the yard. We have a family, a mama, maybe even 2 mamas, with babies that have basically lived in our backyard all summer, and a couple of them are out there under the tree right now. I also finished spring rolls, and this one needs to be fully finished. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm doing these from this Weenies series for my sister-in-law, and so this is the next one she will get. There are quite a few more in the series, and I don't know which ones that I'm going to do. I need to go through and figure out which ones I want to do. I kind of want to make sure she has something that she could basically change it out steadily throughout the year. So I want to make sure she has all the seasons covered. I did see that they recently put out a new one called Starbucks. And although my sister-in-law is not a coffee drinker, her husband is. So I think that one would be fun to do. And I don't think I've done her Christmas one. So I need to figure out which ones I've done. Anyway, I'll also insert a picture here of her dog Penny, which is why I do these weenies pieces for her in honor of Penny. So those are my two finishes. And, oh, I'm also sorry, I haven't unzipped anything, so hopefully it won't be too loud. So now we're into what I've worked on since the last time we visited. Many of you will remember that I like to do Christmas ornaments for my two of my nieces, and in the past my son's girlfriend, now wife. And so that meant I had to do 3. Here's one. This came from a magazine. I think it's from a Cross Stitcher magazine. There's one. And number 2 is right here. I believe I'm on the 3rd one, and actually I've decided that I'm going to try, I think, to do a 4th one this year, because the thought has occurred to me that I should do a 4th one for my younger son. He actually really loves Christmas, and the minute we see snow, he will put a tree up in his room. So, but he's 20 years old, so I should start making one for him as well, so that he'll have a collection also when he gets out on his own. So, I do know that this is the last, one of the last things. I'm supposed to put 100 stitches into the Christmas ornaments for, probably for Magical Stitches this month, and I still have to do that, but I'm hoping that I'll get to that this next week. At some point in the last 2 or 3 months, I worked on my World of Warcraft piece. I have 2 different pieces from that are World of Warcraft themed, and I've only started one, and this is the one. I think it's the crest for the Horde, Horde. And I actually would like to work on this one again. This one's kind of fun to work on, believe it or not, even though I have really no clue what it is that I'm stitching. But this is coming along. I worked on that at some point. At some point, I gave some love to Pandemic, and not a bunch, but I know that I finished this triangle here. Still a long, long, long ways to go on this piece, and I pull it out just randomly at various times. But I do enjoy working on that one from time to time, because it is because it's just one thread color. That I don't know why that makes it so much easier, but it does. I am working on a piece for my niece and her fiance. Their wedding is next May, and here's where that one stands right now. This is a pattern I bought off Etsy. Also here I will insert a picture of a piece that I started and finished at the end of August for a coworker who got married. That was also a pattern off Etsy. I also worked on Give Thanks, and I'm not sure if you can really see. Oops, I popped the Q-snap thingy right off of there. Hopefully I left myself enough time to put before pictures in of all of these before. I just kind of realized that I haven't been saying that, but hopefully there's a before picture, and here's where this one stands now. I know that I think I've been finishing leaves and working my way around. I kind of want to just work my way around. I still have like half the pumpkin to go on this one. This is a lot of stitching. That's all I know. I would love to get this one done though. It's too bad this one's not done to be displayed this fall, but that's not going to happen. So I worked on that. And I've worked on Bloom Where You're Planted. And this is the one that right now I keep working on things for however many stitches I say I need to for a challenge, but then I keep coming back to this one because I really want to finish this one. I feel like if I could just focus on this one for a bit, it would be finished. And here's where it is now. I have been working down in here. I do have some random, like there's a flower that goes right here. I think there might be a flower in the middle. There's some random little things like that, but mostly it's down to these flowers that are going to be down in here. And again, I would just really like to finish it and get it displayed because there's a lot of stitching left, but yet it's also close, I feel, to being finishable. For full coverage, and to go along with that, the reason that I would like to finish it, I'm really wanting to finish a bunch of smaller things. I think I have 15-ish whips, and I would really like to get that down to like 6 or 7. I don't mind having the 3 full coverage pieces. I think that's a good number. But then I would like to only have 3 or 4 other pieces going. I know that a lot of people are of the mind that what does it matter if it started and, you know, or what if it's just a pattern in your stash. But for me, having too many of them started does start to weigh on me. And I don't remember who said this, but when they said it, I thought, that's me. To me, they end up feeling like a to-do list. And since I'm very much a list maker and a get it done kind of person, when I start having that many and I'm not really making any progress because I'm working on so many at once, it does start to bother me. So I would like to get it down to, 6, 7 total. I mean, if I had 7, that would be 4. I'd have the 3 full coverage. I'd still have pandemic. Even if I had 2 medium pieces and then 2 or 3 small pieces, to me that would be better, I think. So I'm trying to finish up stuff and not really start anything. But I also know that of what's left on my Whip Go board, there are a few new starts. So there is that. My full coverage for July and August, no. My full coverage for May and June, well, I don't remember. I think this was July and August, was Sunlight Sonata. So here's where it was the last time you would have seen it. And here's where it is now. I have made actually quite a bit of progress on this. I kind of have to get in a rhythm with it because it's so small. I honestly don't know how those of you who work on 40 count, I don't know how, because this is 25 count and I'm doing it 1/1 and it's just about driving my eyes batty. Although my eyes, I don't know what's going on. I feel like they get worse and worse all the time. I'm getting quite the collection of cheater glasses and they seem to be everywhere in my house. Literally, because I'm using them constantly and I'm not real happy about it. The other problem, the real problem with this one is this whole section here is basically white or extremely light colored threads on white fabric. And because that's where the sun is coming through these windows. Sorry, I bumped the tripod. So what I've been trying kind of to do is to make myself do 1 or 2 threads of this and then let myself move over to another area and do some color, because part of me would like to just do all the white and get it done, but I know that I would then avoid working on it if I did that because it's very difficult. But I do still love this piece and I look forward to someday, years from now, having it done and hanging somewhere. The other full coverage piece I would have worked on, and I think this was probably May and June, because it seems like it's been a while, was Minnie the Library. And so here's a picture of what that looked like the last time you saw it, and here is where I am now. Progress, but not... Probably doesn't seem like much, but you can see we've got a bookcase here. I think that's a book. This blue right here I think is a book. So again, I didn't put in as many stitches on this as I really would have liked. Like less than 2,000, I think, over 2 months. I don't know. I don't know what my problem is lately. I feel like I don't get anything done. It's very frustrating. I'm sure many of you can commiserate though. Summertime also feels like I don't get as much done because I'm doing other things, even though we did end up pulling out our swimming pool at the beginning of the summer, and so I didn't have a swimming pool, so I wasn't like trying to go swimming or doing anything like that, but it seemed like we were just doing other things that got in the way. But that's all I have to show you for cross stitch, really. I don't even really think I did buy a magazine. I don't usually buy magazines, because I just don't. Because, I don't know, they're just another thing I have to store. But I did see this one repeatedly online. People showing this, that they were receiving it here on Flosstube. And I really like this picture that's on the cover. Like, I like it a lot. I think it's a great, just a beautiful fall piece. So I did buy that one day when I was in Joann's. And I think that there are 2 or 3 other things in here that I actually kind of like. So I did purchase that, but we're not starting it right now because no new starts. Need to finish up stuff. So anyway, let's move on to what I've been working on in knitting. Because I have a couple of finishes there also. Many of you who have visited with me before remember I was working on a shawl called the Catkin shawl, and I'll put a couple of pictures here of what it is supposed to look like when it's finished. And here is my finish. Try to get like this along the edge has these really cool, I don't know what they're called, spots. This is supposed to be worn, as you could see in that first picture. It's supposed to be worn like a shawl, like this. That's not, this shirt definitely would not go with this. This is not how Katrina will ever wear it. Not my style. I did actually wear this to work the other day. I will wear it more like a cowl, like this. It's actually supposed to have buttons, so I will wear it like this, which is how I wore it the other day. And I think it looks nice that way. It is supposed to have buttons, I think down this side, because I think down this side, yes, down this side there are buttonholes that were knit into it. So there's supposed to be buttons on this side. And I don't think I'm going to put the buttons on there, but I think what I am going to do is I am going to put a button on this one end, because there's a buttonhole here at this end. Because what I found all day Wednesday when I wore this to work, and I don't know, maybe other people who wear cowls and stuff like this don't have this problem, but all day long I'm fidgeting with it, and I do something and it's falling off me. So I'm going to put one button at the end so that I can basically button it underneath. Nobody will see it, but hopefully that will hold it in place. But I have a story to tell about this shawl. You'll see that my edge is kind of wavy, and if you were to look at the pattern, it's not focusing, because why would it want to focus on that? If you were to look at the pattern is definitely not wavy. So I was going to go visit my mom, who was camping in the Standish area in July. And I knew that the next day, I was just going to go visit her I was going to leave work, go there, spend the night with her. The next day we were going to go to Tawas, bebop around to all our favorite spots in Tawas, and then I was going to stay the night again and then leave from there to go back to work on Wednesday. So I had told her that while we were in Tawas, I wanted to check out this yarn shop that Harmony from Harmony Stitches has talked about several times. It's called the Tawas Bay Yarn Company. And so I knew that we were going to be doing that. And I told myself that I needed to finish this shawl and get the next project started before I could buy anything when we went to the yarn store. Because when I bought the yarn for this, I had bought yarn and let me start that sentence over. When I purchased the pattern and yarn for this project, I purchased another pattern and yarn for that pattern. And so I thought it was a bit ridiculous to be purchasing even more when I hadn't started the last one. So anyway, I was really close to having this finished. That didn't end up happening, but I did finish this within a couple of days of being at the yarn store. Because I got to the camper and to the campground, and that evening I was finishing, and I had 2 rows. I had the last row and the bind off row to go. That's how close I was. And I was working on this shawl, and I finish the row and I start the bind off row, and I get like, I don't know. I think this shawl is in like even the pattern, like when you knit it, you had stitch markers in, so it was like in quadrants. So like this section, let me show it right side, is one quadrant. This section is a quadrant. This section was a quadrant, and this section was a quadrant. So I was like halfway through the first quadrant, and I'm like, why is this taking me so long to do this bind off? I mean, I'd been working on it for over an hour, and I thought, why am I only halfway through this bind off, halfway through this quadrant of this bind off? And also, why is it ripply? Couldn't figure out why it was really and it was way wavier than this before I blocked it. Folks, sometimes I really wonder about myself. So if you have ever knit, you may have seen directions that say something like knit 3, and then it'll have an asterisk, and it will have some directions, and then it will say repeat or something. Anyway, if you're a knitter, you know you're supposed to repeat back to the asterisk. Nope. I believe the direction said knit 1 or knit 2, slide 1 back to your left needle, then do these things. And the asterisk, anyway, it doesn't matter what it said. What I was doing was going all the way back to the beginning of the line. So I was, in essence, adding at least 1, perhaps even 2 stitches into every. That's why it was waving, because I'm adding stitches in there. I, for a second, tried to backtrack and see if I could undo it so I could do it correctly. And I wasn't really having any luck. And I actually was afraid that I was going to ruin it. And of course, I hadn't put a lifeline in any time recently because I was getting overconfident and thought, oh, I'm almost done. I've made it. I'm fine. But I knew we were going to this yarn store the next day. So I took it with me, and I believe I was talking to the owner, and she was super nice. I believe her name was Peg. She was super, super, super nice, and she did attempt to help me undo it. But for some reason, things weren't unraveling the way they should have, and she was afraid that she was going to break my yarn, so she didn't really want to mess with it too much. And I understand that, and I appreciate it. So I seriously appreciate the fact that she was even willing to sit down and attempt to fix my mistake. But she assured me that it didn't look bad, and I said, no, I don't think it looks bad. It just doesn't look like it's supposed to look. But probably with the way I'm going to wear it, the wavy edge might actually be a benefit. I don't know. But anyway, so that's just a lesson for all of us to make sure you're reading those. So I did finish it, and then again, doesn't match this shirt at all. I did this. I made this, which was the other project I had purchased way back when, called the Simply Adjustable Cowl. I believe the pattern was written by the Little Yarn Shop in Saginaw, Michigan. And that's where I got the pattern and the yarn. There was a shop model there, which they had done up in this exact yarn, which is why I bought it. I do much better when I can find the stuff that's on the pattern. I don't necessarily do well when I have to make up my own. I really like this. But, again, things that Katrina needs to learn in terms of knitting. And if any of my knitting friends out there have any tips and tricks, I would love to hear them. This isn't so bad here. This is the part that goes around my neck. So this would have been the starting, although I had the worst time getting this thing started. But my bind off, I have not really figured out. The directions say bind off loosely, and I thought I was binding off loosely, but not enough. There's no give. There's no give at all there. And I really, there needs to be give. And I don't know, I thought I was doing it loosely, but I obviously was not. And I would like to know what the trick is to doing that, because I think it would lay better when I'm wearing it if it were looser there and this was stretchy. It's not stretchy at all, and it needs to be stretchy. But I do love it. I love this yarn. And it was a pretty easy, it was actually a very easy cowl. I would actually make this again if I found some yarn that I thought I liked. That only took me a couple of weeks, so that was great, like that. And so then when I was at the yarn store in Tawas, my goal was to purchase yarn to do this project, which I think is called the Stormy Seas shawl. And I'll also put in a picture of the 3 skeins of yarn before I balled them up. And then here they are. Try not to make a mess. Here's one of them. This one, I'm kind of disappointed. This is, I don't even know if you can tell that. It's purple and green. Come on, focus. But if you look at the inside of the cake, it's more of a tan, brown. And I have a feeling it's going to change about halfway through, and I'm not going to be happy about that. Well, it's tan. It has some blue, and there's some green in there. So, I don't know. Then I bought this one. Well, this is another one. I really like this. This is supposed to be the white. Come on. There we go. And then I bought this just navy. Now, one of the things that I'm not sure I'm happy about with this yarn, again, the green and purple, it's not that I have a problem with the color, is the way it's knitting up. Let me put that picture from the pattern back up. So this section should be the gray section, equivalent to the gray section in this picture. This is what it's looking like right now. And hopefully this is going to show up on camera. But it's striping. Green and purple. Stripes. I don't really think I want it to be stripes. I think I want it to be. I wanted it to be more speckled. I was thinking it was going to be the tan, the green, the purple. And this is an area, again, where I am just not knowledgeable enough about, like, I don't have the ability, I haven't learned yet how to look at a skein of yarn and know how it's gonna knit up. Like, is it gonna knit up in stripes, or is it gonna knit up in a speckle? And like this one, my mom was really concerned about this one because it has some orange bits in it. Although there was only orange in like one end. So I really don't think that's going to be a problem, but I don't know. We'll see how this one comes out. I was just kind of disappointed when I saw that it was starting to stripe instead of being a speckle, which is more like what I was after. And then I also started another project. When I was a little girl, I honestly don't know how old, my grandmother made me a stocking. And she made me, my brother, and my 2 cousins each stockings. And so when I got married, I asked her if she would make my husband a stocking, which she graciously did, and then she proceeded to make my children stockings. So I'll put a picture here of our 4 stockings. So I asked my son and daughter-in-law if she would want a stocking, because I had actually looked online and I had found the patterns. They're old Mary Maxim patterns. I do not know much about Mary Maxim, but I think maybe it's a Canadian company. But they had, I'm not sure if they still have, but they used to have a store in Port Huron, Michigan, which would be right across the water from Canada. So anyway, I found the patterns. My sons both, the pattern, there are two patterns. Each pattern has two different stockings on it. One pattern is for Mr. Claus and Mrs. Claus. The other pattern is for a snowman or a reindeer. My sons both have snowmen. No, I take that back. My husband and I have snowmen. My sons both have Santa Claus. So I decided that I would make my daughter-in-law a Mrs. Claus, and then if they ever have children, when they have children, I will make the children probably the reindeer. So I started it. This is where I am. You make it actually flat, and then you sew it together, which I actually am really happy about. So this is Mrs. Claus. These are the things in her hair. They're probably knitting needles for all I know. Because this is an old pattern, that's what I'm going to blame it on, the fact that it's an old pattern. It's not. It's not very good. It's not very beginner, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, knitter friendly. And so I actually went out to the barn the other day and looked at our stockings to see how my grandma had done it, because I didn't know if I was supposed to have like this red going across the back, and I actually tried that for a few rows, but even though, again, I tried to leave extra, it was tight. I felt like it's too tight. So I actually cut them, which is what these barrettes are holding, and I'm going to try just tying those in and tying them off. Maybe even making knots on the back side, because who cares? It's going to be the inside of the stocking. No one will ever see it. And I probably need to take the time to tie those off and make sure that that's going to work before I go too much further. Because I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. And I need to make sure that I'm not going to have holes. Like there's a hole right there. But I think that I think I can tie in. See, there's a hole right there. Right there. But I think I can tie in one of these things and fix that. I don't know. But I need to figure that out. But anyway, I told them I didn't know if I would have it done for this Christmas or not. But that's my start. And if I can finish it, I will be very proud of myself for having figured that out. Because like I said, the directions, I'm going to blame it on the fact that it's a 50-year-old pattern, probably older than 50. It's not very good. And I purchased the downloadable PDF, which it's obvious they just scanned. And that's fine, it's their pattern. They can do that if they want. But that's what I've been working on in the knitting world. So in quilting, I did finish, excuse me while I reach. I did finish the wall hanging. It is hanging up. It's probably going to get rehung. I don't like the way it looks right now. It just doesn't look right. It needs to be hung better than it is currently hung. But I think it's also going to move, because I think I'm going to rearrange some of our bedroom, and so anyway, there's that. And then I did start working on this project, and I think I've probably shown this before. I'm going to do this. This is a really bad picture. It's called This Way, That Way. And I had purchased last summer when we went to Tawas, I had purchased a jelly roll that was all grays and blacks and reds and whites. Here's maybe a better, here's some more different ones. It just had all fabrics. This one's red with some Writing on it. I think there's a black one with writing on it. Yep, there's the black one with writing on it. You know, there's some red and white check. There's some black and red and gray and white hearts. Some white and gray hearts. So, I mean, really cute. I really like this fabric line, and I thought it would make a cute quilt. And I have started, I mean, I have lots of pieces cut in strips, and then I got sidetracked and this chunk hasn't gotten cut yet. And I mean, that was probably a month and a half ago. And again, quilting has been on my to-do list for my days off every day for every time for the last 2 months, and other stuff just seems to happen. And today, even right now, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. I can see a pile of mail over there. I know that there are some things I need to do on the computer. I probably should clean bathrooms. I have laundry to attend to. I just don't know why I can't keep up anymore. I don't know if I've ever showed this before, but I really like these boxes. They are, I think this is the label on Snapware boxes. I have 4 or 5 of them. I love them because their name comes from the fact that the lid snaps on and the top. So the top is secure when it's on, but I also like that the top, the handle, folds right down into the top, so it's flat and they stack really nicely. So I have, like I said, 4 or 5 of these, and I keep my quilting projects in these because I can, you know, have all of the stuff in there. So the day that we went to Tawas, we also then went down to Pinconning because we had to get cheese. If you know, you know. And we went to the quilt store in Pinconning, and I ended up buying this kit to make this quilt. It's basically this panel with all of these birds, and they give you the outside fabric for the quilt top, and then I purchased this fabric, which is kind of like a postcardy type print, to be my backing fabric and my binding. The plan for this quilt is that it's going to be for my mother-in-law, who really likes birds. I did tell myself when I bought it that she'll get it for Christmas, but not necessarily this Christmas. Although I was kind of hoping that maybe I would get it done this Christmas. Who knows? I also bought this little fat quarter of fabric just because it had music words all over it. Maybe I can use it for cross stitch finishing or something someday. And then I bought this little, I don't know what you call these things. No. Again, I just thought the birds were cute. Has some really nice fabrics in it. You can't see them all, but just different coordinating fabrics that go along with, oh, I like that one a lot. It has like pine cones, pine needles. It's another one. It's kind of Christmassy almost. I don't know what I'll do with those either. Oh, it's a charm pack. That's what they call it. So, you know, I try not to buy stuff if I don't really need it, because what's the point? But sometimes, you know, you do end up buying stuff. And I know that next month I'm going to do a shop hop thing with my mom. So I'll probably buy some more quilting fabric then. And I guess that means I have to do some quilting. I would love to show you some greeting cards, but can't remember the last time I made a greeting card. My Whipco board is looking really good for cross stitch. For card making, not so much. And I really need to get on the ball. But, you know, hopefully I'll catch up at some point. That's about all I have in crafts. So let's talk about what I've been reading, because I've been reading a lot. In fact, this last week I hit my reading goal. I had set my Goodreads reading goal to read 70 books in the year 2023, and I hit that goal and maybe even gone over. I'm not going to tell you about all the books I read, but I'll go through some of them, and I will tell you about some of my favorites. I have my iPad here with my Goodreads open. I think I shared that I had gotten a new iPad last time, and I got the Apple Pencil. I'm still loving them, and I don't know what happened to me this year, but I seem to have gone through a here Apple take all my money phase, because last month I decided, or maybe it was a month and a half ago, I decided that I would like ultimately to get an Apple Watch. I had a Samsung Galaxy Watch. It was fine. It worked, but I thought it was not as nice as probably an Apple Watch. So my husband was going to get a new phone, and I said, well, I think I really want an Apple Watch, so I think I want to get a new phone, and I think I want to switch from an Android to an iPhone. I said, I'll switch to the iPhone now, and you guys can get me the Apple Watch for Christmas. I ended up walking out of the store with an iPhone and an Apple Watch. I will put the box for the watch under the tree because it is a Christmas gift, but they would take my Samsung watch as a trade-in and gave me a nice chunk of change for it, so I just couldn't turn that down. So I am absolutely loving my new Apple Watch. I was right. It works just so much better than the Samsung, and I really like it. And I'm actually really loving the iPhone, and really don't know why. For years and years I told my kids I didn't want one, because it's actually pretty nice. Anyway, let's talk about what I read. And here, let me put on my cheaters so that I can actually see the iPad. So last we talked, I don't even remember what I would have read. Let's see. That's probably about May right there. May 14th. Yeah, so I would have talked to you end of April, right? So let's see. We'll start right about there. I'll just list the ones that I read, and then I'll tell you which ones I thought were really, really good. I read What I Would Tell You by Liz Tolsma, The Sewing Machine by Natalie Fergie, and I've read several more of the Elm Creek Quilts books, which are, this is why I hate cheaters. I feel like I look like an old lady. That's part of the Magical Stitches group. So I read The Quilter's Legacy. I read The Master Quilter. I read The Sugar Camp Quilt, The Christmas Quilt, and actually just this week I finished Circle of Quilters, and by read I mean I listened to, and I have enjoyed those a great deal. And this is the second time through for that series because I had already read those. I re-listened to a book called When the Day Comes, which I talked about a year or so ago, and I re-listened to it because book 2 in that series was coming out, and book 2 in this series is called In This Moment. If you like time, I hate to call it time travel, but it is kind of, the main character lives 2 lives. In the first book, she wakes up, she lives in 1776. Why can't I think of the place right now? She's like at the beginning of the Revolutionary War, and she's in that area. And then when she wakes up, when she goes to sleep, she wakes up in it must be 1774, because she wakes up in 1914 or something. I don't know. Anyway, New York. And then the second book follows another character, a relation. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil anything. Who lives 3 lives. Oh, I should backtrack. In the first book, Libby has to choose on her 21st birthday which life she's going to keep of those 2 lives. In the second book, the person lives 3 lives, and she thinks that when she turns 21, she has to choose one. And there's a third book coming next year. But if you like time travel, historical fiction at all, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Timeless series by Gabriel Meyer. Again, the first one's called In This Moment, and the first one's called When the Day Comes. The second one is called In This Moment. I also read Jennifer Schiavarini's newest historical fiction, which is called Canary Girls. That one was very interesting. It was about women who worked in the plutonium. Well, they were in a munitions plant that they worked in. I don't remember what the chemical was that they worked with, but the chemical, whatever it was, turned their skin yellow, and so they were called the Canary Girls. I did look it up. That was a real thing, and it was a very good story. I read, so I would definitely recommend that one by Jennifer Schiavarini. Shadows in the Mind's Eye by Jan R. Trump was a good book. It was kind of a little bit of a suspense, but it was set in like I don't remember. One of the main characters was coming back from a war. I don't think it was Vietnam. I think it was World War II, though. I don't remember. I read Light to the Hills by Bonnie Blaylock. I did enjoy that one. I finished the series, the Empire State series by Elizabeth Camden. The second book was A Daring Venture, and the third book was A Desperate Hope. I had read the first book a long time ago. I read a little Closer to Home by Ginger Z. For those of you who may not know, Ginger Z, the meteorologist who's on ABC, is from Michigan. She's from West Michigan. So, you know, that's kind of cool. This is the second book of hers that I've read. I don't know. I don't know what to think. It's not that it was a bad book. She lays it all out. Let's put it that way. She doesn't keep any secrets. Codename Edelweiss by Stephanie Lansom. This was a really good book. It was historical fiction set in World War II in Hollywood, which was very different. And talked about how there were people, how Hitler was trying to infiltrate Hollywood to take over. And that was, he thought that was going to be his way to get into America, which I didn't, again, I looked it up. That really was a thing, and I did not know that. I read the Treasures of Nome series, which included Forever Hidden, Endless Mercy, and Ever Constant. That was about 3 sisters, 3 books about 3 sisters. It was really good. One of the newest trends in Christian fiction, just Christian fiction, seems to be rom-coms. And I have actually read 2 or 3 of them in the last couple of months, and I've actually enjoyed them. It's kind of like reading a Hallmark movie. Dear Henry, Love Edith was just super cute. Contemporary rom-com, but it was really cute. It was by Becca Kinzer. So if you think that if you like Hallmark movies and romantic comedies, I would recommend that one. Then I've read 2 books, the first 2 books in the Scamar series by Pepper Basham. The first one is called Authentically Izzy, and I just finished the second one last week. It was called Positively Penelope, and again, kind of rom-com, but just sweet, kind of romance, but with a little bit of a plot. I finished 2 books. I'm back. that was the appliance repair guy. He's going to come work on my range. And I'm happy about that. He came out yesterday to look at it. We have a GE range with 2 ovens, and the bottom oven a week or so ago stopped working. You could turn it on, but it never actually lit. And so he determined that the igniter had gone bad, but he didn't have one on his truck, but it sounds like he has the part, so I'm excited. Let's see, some other things that I read. My Heart Went Walking by Sally Hannon. Meh. Had a lot of language in it. Didn't really appreciate that. Stories That Bind Us and The All-American, both by Susie Finkbeiner. Again, West Michigan author. If you have not read Susie Finkbeiner and you like historical fiction, I would strongly recommend her. Tony Shiloh, The Love Script. Great rom-com. Again, I don't know, I guess I was just in the mood for some rom-coms. The Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp. This one was by Sarah Brunswald. It was just a very touching story. It made you really think. No romance, just a touching story. I read this one would probably be considered a middle grade book called Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. It was actually pretty cute and had a lot of like game stuff in it, which if you are good at strategy, you probably would have caught on to some of the stuff going on in the book, but I'm not good at that. So like the kid would figure it out and tell you, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I didn't catch that. The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. It's an excellent book. The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. This was, I read this for the book challenge for Magical Stitches because I needed to read a thriller, which is not really my thing. And I'm not really sure that this isn't what I thought a thriller would be, although I think this one would be really classified as, as a psychological thriller because it was all really mind game stuff. So I don't know where that cut off. But that one was really very good. The Good Sister. I also listened to another book that is kind of out of my normal. It was called Heart of Red, Blood of Blue by Rebecca Belliston. This is young adult Christian fantasy. It was very good. I loved it. But if you don't like war scenes or blood, guts, and gore or violence, this is not the book for you. Other than that, it was very clean. I mean, there was some romance in it, but it was all clean romance. But this book, because of it, the time period in which it was set in, that's just the way it was. So there were some spots where, it was like, oh, that didn't sound pleasant. And then I listened to A Bridge Across the Ocean by Susan Meissner. I love Susan Meissner's books. Susan Meissner, in my opinion, is probably the queen of split time fiction. This book is, I did still end up giving it 4 stars, and I did enjoy it a great deal. But of her books, it's probably my least favorite. It was just odd. The main character in the modern day portion of the book could talk to ghosts. And it was just really, I don't know, it was just very different. And I had a hard time kind of getting into that. But I still enjoyed the book a lot. And as usual, Susan Meissner managed to wrap it all up in the end, and you were just like, wow. If you have never read a Susan Meissner book, my recommendation for the one that you should read is called A Fall of Marigolds. But I will warn you to have some tissues ready That's the one that I seriously thought I was going to have to pull over on the side of the road because I was crying so hard. That one is, the modern day portion of that is set around 9/11. And I don't know if that's why it hit me so hard, but there was part of it I literally thought I was going to have to pull over because I thought I'm not going to be able to see to drive. I'm crying so hard. But I've read other books by her. Secrets of a Charmed Life, The Nature of Fragile Things, As Bright as Heaven, every one of hers that I've read, I've loved. If you like split time fiction, like I said, I think she's the queen of it. It looks like I have 2 more books of hers that I have not yet read, and I need to get on that because I do enjoy her books a great deal. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough. The appliance repair guy is going to be here in like 15 minutes, and that excites me because that means that I'll have both ovens at my disposal again because, of course, what do I want to do when I can't? I want to make chocolate chip cookies, but I can't make chocolate chip cookies with just one oven because the oven that's working, like the bottom oven is a big 2-shelf oven and the top oven is just a 1-shelf oven. So I'm not going to make cookies in that. It would take me all day. So I'm kind of excited that he's coming. Anyway, I'm really sorry that I've been missing. This is probably a hot mess, and who knows, maybe I won't even post it because it's probably bad and I look stupid in these glasses. Anyway, I hope that all is well with everyone and that you are getting lots of crafting time in and that people in your life aren't constantly making demands on you. You get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And hopefully I'll see you at the end of October. I'd really like to get back on a normal schedule. But anyway, I'll talk to you later.